These were my arms at the start of my fitness journey. Now, my arms look like this. In this video, I'll be taking you through my entire arm training routine so that you too can fill your sleeves and get massive arms. Let's first have a look at the anatomy of the arm. The arm has three major muscle groups: the biceps, the triceps, and the brachialis hiding underneath the biceps. The forearm has too many muscle groups to get into, but the most prominent one being the brachioradialis. Before we get into the individual exercises, it's important to know how often I train my arms. I just want to preface this by saying that I optimize for effectiveness in the least amount of time. I run a multiple six-figure business and I just don't have the time to spend all day in the gym. That said, my program is made up of 4 full body days, 2 of them being more biceps and forearm focused, and 2 of them more focused on the triceps. I usually train my arms towards the end of the sessions as I need more energy for the heavier lifts. That's what I do. But what does the research say? How often should you train your arms to see optimal results? Well, here's what I found. There are 3 main things to keep in mind when coming up with a training split. Volume, so the amount of weekly working sets you do, frequency, and recovery. For both the biceps and the triceps, you can get away with around 8 weekly working sets. Working sets meaning the sets you actually push yourself to failure or close to failure. But the optimal range seems to be 14 to 20 weekly working sets. What's more important is to make sure that you're fully recovered for your next session. Should you feel sore or weak, there is no point in training. In that case, either decrease the volume or increase the rest between your sessions. The frequency in which you train the muscles doesn't matter too much, but training the muscle group twice a week as opposed to once has shown to make a big difference. This is because you are taking advantage of that recovered state more often. For example, let's say you train your full weekly sets of 10 for your bicep on Monday. You might already be fully recovered by Wednesday. That means you are missing out on 4 days of potential growth. What you could do instead is split that up so you could have 5 sets on Monday and then another 5 sets on Thursday. That way you are taking advantage of that recovered state more often. Twice a week or even every day can make sense as long as you're hitting the muscle with the correct intensity and the correct weekly volume. Now let's get into what exercises I do. Firstly, the triceps. When most people start out, including me for the longest time, I mainly focused on the bicep. But in reality, the tricep actually makes 2/3 of the entire arm. So if you want to fill your sleeves, it's the triceps you mainly need to focus on. The triceps has 3 heads: a lateral head, which inserts at the arm, a medial head, also inserts at the arm, and the long head, which inserts at the shoulder joint. The long head is the biggest out of the 3 and technically the most important one to grow a big triceps. The triceps is responsible for elbow extension, and because the long head connects to the shoulder joint, also shoulder extension to some degree. For my tricep training, I do 2 exercises that target all 3 heads effectively. That's it. 1 exercise with the shoulder extended. For this, I like doing the cable tricep push down. This will target more of the lateral head since the long head won't be fully shortened. Basically, it can't fully contract at the elbow joint since it's connected to the shoulder. So in order to fully contract, the shoulder would need to be fully extended as well, which is why a recent favorite of mine is the single arm cable tricep kickback. This is great because you actually get a lot of long head activation as your arm is behind your body, your shoulder fully extended, and so your long head can fully contract. The only other exercise you need is an exercise where your shoulder is fully flexed. Here I like doing the overhead cable tricep extensions, or as of late, the skull crushers, because I really feel a nice stretch. This will target more of the long head since it's more lengthened at the shoulder joint. I usually do 2 to 3 sets and my rep ranges are higher and lower, so anywhere between 4 to 15 sets. I usually don't like going higher than 15 because I just don't want to spend that much time in the gym. The triceps is slightly more fast twitch dominant. All this means it responds better to heavier loads, so it makes sense to include a couple of sets of 4 to 8 reps. For this, I like including the skull crusher as you can load pretty heavy. That said, there are lots of conflicting studies on this topic, so I would suggest including a variety of rep ranges into your training. Got myself some tea, hope you don't mind. That said, if you're a busy traveling man and you currently don't have a training routine or your training routine is currently not working, I want to give you mine for free. The exact routine I'm currently using so you can just copy paste it into your own life and start seeing results as soon as possible. So if you want it for free, just DM me on Instagram with the word, or go with training, and I'll send it right over to you. Moving on to the biceps and forearms. Firstly, looking at the anatomy of the biceps. The biceps has two heads, a long head on the outside and a short head on the inside. Both heads insert at the shoulder joint, making the biceps both responsible for shoulder and elbow flexion. The brachialis, sitting below the biceps, on the other hand, attaches to the humerus, aka the upper arm, making it a bigger driver for elbow flexion. Developing this muscle will push your biceps up, making it appear larger. When it comes to the exercises, there's only two to target all muscles effectively. Firstly, to target the biceps, and especially the long head, to give your bicep that peak, what I like including is a face-away cable bicep curl or an incline bench bicep curl. These are great because you can really load the bicep in the stretch position, and this is great because the muscle best responds to growth when it's fully lengthened. That said, combining both exercises where the bicep is behind the body, like the incline bicep curl, and exercises where the bicep is in front of your body, like the preacher curl, is most optimal. This is because when the bicep is in front of the body, tension is at its highest in the bottom third, and when the bicep is behind the body, tension is at its highest in the top third. So including both for your training can make sense if you want to optimize. The only other exercise you need in addition are hammer curls to target more of the brachialis and the forearm muscles. The brachialis is actually a stronger elbow flexor than the bicep, and this is because unlike the bicep, the brachialis doesn't cross the shoulder joint, and so it can pay its full attention to the elbow. I like including the cable hammer curl as there's more constant tension throughout the movement, but if you don't have a machine, a dumbbell will honestly do. And as already mentioned, the hammer curls activate the forearm muscles quite well as well. Again, I usually do 2 to 3 sets, and rep range is both 14 to 15, so higher and lower. Just like the triceps, the biceps is also more fast twitch dominant, meaning it responds better to heavier loads. So including a couple of sets of 4 to 8 reps with movements like the ease bar, barbell, or dumbbell curl loading heavier can make sense. Again, because there are still a lot of conflicting studies, just like the triceps, I would suggest including a variety of rep ranges into your training for optimal growth. And that's my entire arm training routine. It's what has worked for me to grow bigger and thicker arms. Give it a try for yourself. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't be a little bitch. Don't forget to take action and get yours. I'll see you in the next one.